Welcome to Betrayal Affairs. In today's video, before we begin, I want to warn you that this story deals with mature emotional themes, including the challenges of new motherhood, complex family relationships, and the temptation to cross moral boundaries. If these topics make you uncomfortable, you might want to stop watching now. I stood in my kitchen that morning, letting my fingertips trace the cold, polished edge of the granite countertop. The hum of the refrigerator seemed louder than usual. Maybe it was because the rest of the house was still, or maybe because my mind had been anything but. The life I had now, this house, this quiet, this sense of control, it hadn't come easy. For years it was just me and my daughter, moving from one cramped apartment to another, counting pennies and praying the rent wouldn't go up. I remember nights sitting on a worn-out couch, bills scattered around me, pretending I wasn't scared. But kids are perceptive even back then. My daughter knew when I was struggling. We survived, the two of us, because we were close. No secrets. We talked about everything, even when it was hard. That closeness became my anchor. When I finally managed to buy this house, I promised myself I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I deserved it. She deserved it. And for a while, things were steady, predictable, safe. Then came Ethan. He was the son of my oldest friend, Laura, someone I'd known since high school. Ethan was 22, a college athlete recovering from an injury, and he needed a quiet place to stay for a few months while he sorted out his next steps. Laura asked if I could take him in. I said yes without hesitation. Ethan had been around since he was a kid, and I'd always thought of him as polite, even a little shy. He'd stayed at my house before, back when he was lanky, all elbows and knees, and more interested in video games than talking to adults. But the Ethan who showed up at my door that spring wasn't the same boy I remembered. He'd grown taller, broader, with the kind of presence that made a room feel smaller when he walked into it. He smiled when I opened the door, and I felt something strange, not romantic, not then, just an awareness. The first weeks were fine. Easy. He was a respectful guest. We shared casual conversations over breakfast, swapped stories about mutual friends, and I showed him where to find things in the kitchen. It wasn't until the hot tub arrived that things began to shift. Buying it had been a splurge, something I told myself I'd earned after years of sacrifice. I'd planned to use it for quiet evenings alone, maybe with a book and a glass of wine. But when it was delivered and installed, it felt wrong not to at least offer Ethan a chance to try it. He hesitated at first, said it wasn't really his thing. But one evening after dinner, I asked again, and this time he smiled and said, "Sure, why not?" I thought nothing of it as I pulled on my favorite swimsuit, a simple black one-piece. But when I caught my reflection in the mirror, I lingered a little longer than I meant to, adjusting the straps, smoothing my hair, reminding myself this was just a casual dip in the hot tub. The night air was warm, the sky just beginning to fade into navy blue. I carried 2 glasses outside, careful not to spill, and found Ethan already there, leaning against the smooth edge of the tub, steam curling up around him. "Told you it'd be nice," I said as I slipped out of my sandals. He grinned. "All right, I'll admit, it's better than I thought." We sank into easy conversation about his recovery, his plans, my work. The hot water made everything slower, more relaxed. I hadn't realized how much I missed moments like that, just sitting with someone, laughing without checking the clock. Still, there was something different. Not wrong, just new. The way he held my gaze a second longer than necessary. The way I noticed the shape of his shoulders when he leaned back. Nothing happened that night. But when I went to bed, I found myself replaying little details, the way his voice dropped when he told a story, how close our knees had been under the water. I told myself it was harmless. Except harmless things don't usually keep you awake at 2 in the morning. Over the next few weeks, the air between us seemed to change. It wasn't just me. I caught him looking sometimes, just quick, almost imperceptible glances, but enough for me to notice. I didn't act on it. I didn't want to. And yet, I found myself doing small things I couldn't quite explain, wearing my hair down more often, choosing softer fabrics, lingering in the kitchen when he came in from a run. It wasn't overt. But it was there. Then Christmas came early that year, or at least that's what it felt like when I saw his face light up over a gift I'd ordered for myself, a small sauna, perfect for the back patio. Ethan offered to assemble it, and I stayed nearby, chatting while he worked. I caught myself watching him, the way his brow furrowed in concentration, the ease in his movements. Noticing too much. When it was done, I thanked him and offered the obvious, "You should try it with me." He hesitated, then smiled. "Sure. Why not?" We sat inside, the cedar walls warm, the air thick and fragrant. The space was small, and our knees almost touched. We talked, laughed, and at one point, I realized I was leaning forward, elbows on my knees, listening too intently to a story about his college team. That night, I lay in bed wondering what exactly I was doing, and why I didn't want to stop. The real turning point wasn't dramatic. No big confession. No accidental closeness. It was in the kitchen one morning, sunlight spilling through the window, the smell of coffee between us. He handed me a mug, and our fingers brushed, just for a second. I don't know why it rattled me, but it did. We both froze for half a heartbeat. He looked at me, not away, not down, but right at me. Something unspoken passed between us. I broke it first, stepping back, laughing lightly, saying something about needing to check the laundry. But the moment stayed with me all day. From then on, it was a quiet battle between sense and something else. We didn't cross lines, not physically. But there were glances that lasted too long, jokes that skirted just close enough to the edge to make my pulse quicken. And every time I thought about putting distance between us, some small thing would happen, him bringing me tea when I was working late, or me asking about his physical therapy and seeing the gratitude in his eyes, and I'd think, what's the harm? The harm was in the wondering. Because wondering turns into wanting. And wanting turns into imagining. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, our shoulders brushed. Neither of us moved away. The film played on, but I couldn't tell you what happened in it. My mind was too loud. Finally, I said it, not the truth, but a safer truth. "This feels different, doesn't it?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah." We didn't say more. We didn't need to. Sometimes the silence says everything. Eventually, I knew I had to act, not because anything had happened, but because I could feel the ground shifting beneath us. One morning, over coffee, I told him, "I think we need to set some boundaries. Real ones." He looked disappointed, but he didn't argue. I told him it wasn't about pushing him away, it was about making sure we didn't lose the easy trust we'd always had. That there were certain lines that, once crossed, you couldn't uncross. He nodded, and for a moment, I saw the younger version of him again, the one who'd always been kind, respectful, and just a little shy. We agreed. And just like that, the tension eased. That night, after he went out to meet friends, I stood in front of the mirror. For the first time in a long time, I really looked at myself. I noticed the softness in my features, the way my hair framed my face, the light in my eyes. And I realized something. It wasn't Ethan that had made me feel alive again. It was remembering that I could still be seen. When he moved out a few months later, we hugged at the door. It was warm, familiar, and free of anything unspoken. But even now, sometimes I think back to those months, not with regret, but with a kind of quiet caution. Because temptation doesn't always come in loud, obvious ways. Sometimes it arrives quietly, sitting across from you at the breakfast table, smiling over a cup of coffee. And if you're not paying attention, you might cross a line you didn't even see. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. If you've ever faced a situation where emotions got complicated, I'd love to hear how you handled it. Your stories matter, and sometimes they might help someone else make the right choice before it's too late.